So here we're going to look at bearings and a little bit at scale as well. Okay, now what is a bearing? Well, it's just an angle and it tells you the direction you're looking in, as it were, from a point. And we always measure bearings clockwise, and that's that way. Okay, you should know which way a clock goes. Bearings measured clockwise from a north line. And the north line, you can see a couple on my diagram on the right here, has a bearing of 0, 0, 0. Why have I said 0, 0, 0? Well, that's because bearings are always given as 3-figure numbers. So if it was 0, it's 0, 0, 0, or the example I've given here, 47 degrees is actually 047. Now, if you want to take a reverse bearing, in other words, what's the bearing of B from A, that's if you're standing at A looking at B, if you're given the other bearing, A from B, well, you always add or subtract 180 degrees. How do you decide which to do? Well, you need to keep your answer in the range 0 to 360. So add or subtract 180. And then, well, you need to work out how to use the scale. It's usually pretty obvious. Make sure you have a ruler. So let's do a question on this. Now, believe me when I say I'm using a protractor here and a ruler. You may not be able to see them. So, first thing is to see what our picture says. Well, I've got a ship and I've got a lighthouse and I've got a scale. 5 centimeters is 10 kilometers. So I might think to myself, well, 1 centimeter is 2 kilometers. That might come in useful. First thing, measure the bearing and the distance of the lighthouse from the ship. Make sure you get it the right way around. It says from the ship, so I'm standing on the ship looking that way. What's the bearing? Well, I need to measure the angle clockwise, which is that way, from north. And if I stick my protractor on here, I get 37 degrees there. And so the bearing, remembering to give it as a 3-figure number, is 037 degrees. And the distance? Well, if I get my ruler out and measure this line, I see that that is 10 centimeters. 1 centimeter is 2 kilometers. So 10 centimeters is 20 kilometers. There we go. Now I've got a yacht. It's 10 kilometers. So 10 kilometers is 5 centimeters from the lighthouse on a bearing of 195. Well, I might only have a 180 degree protractor, so I'm actually going to draw a line south from there. So I know that that is a bearing of 180 degrees, 180 degrees due south, and so actually I need a further 15 degrees. And if I measure 15 degrees and then draw a line 5 centimeters long, I get this point here, which I shall call Y, and that angle in there is 15 degrees. So I've done that. I should mark on here 5 centimeters so that I know that I've used my scale correctly. And then it says, and it's in bold, it says calculate the bearing of the lighthouse from the yacht. So don't measure it on the diagram, you actually need to calculate it. And this is the reverse bearing we were talking about. Okay, so it is a reverse bearing, and it is going to be the 195 plus or minus, well, it's going to be minus 180. Why minus? Because that keeps the answer in the correct range, and that's 15 degrees, which is a bearing, is 015 degrees. So if it says calculate, make sure you show you're working like that. And that is bearings.